time ago the world was created. It has evolved through billions of years, and men and women played a role for its development. When we talk about gender equality, the primitive thought about it refers to women empowerment, but nowadays it should have put emphasis on the greater spectrum of gender.
Men and women only differ culturally and biologically. Across the nations, different genders are treated differently, and these norms bind us to achieve true equality. Only when both men and women stand up for each other can we genuinely achieve gender equality and address the problem. You don't need to be a woman to fight for women. You don't need to be a man to fight for men. We need each other. We need help from each other.
Putting people in boxes. The double standard and the paradox about men and women. For example, in sports, if women are good at extreme sports such as wrestling, people often say that, "Oh, too many muscles, she won't be able to find a boyfriend in the future." Showing skin. When men show their body, it's okay. But when it's a woman, it's indecent.
On the other hand, there are also toxic norms labeled around men as we know. When men wear women's clothing, they are shamed. When women wear men's clothing, they are labeled cool. Crying. Crying isn't very accepted when you are a male, but deemed natural when you're female. Domestic abuse. Men are abused too, but they are ignored when they talk about it, or most can say they deserve it. Men also don't expect to compliment each other since they can be labeled as gay if they do.
In the past, although it is true in some areas within nations, within these issues, there have been improvements, but still, some of the countries around the world still sees women as inferior to men. So they don't always get qualified to take physically and emotionally difficult jobs, for they are expected to be fragile, weak, and timid.
There are a lot of things that men and women are expected, some of which have no sense, and sometimes it's just there so we can divide people. What can we do to stop the stigma? One method of it is starting from a young age. We must try to educate children and not just put them into boxes. What if, when we ask kids what they want to be when they grow up, they tell us the other possibilities that awaited them? The dark truth of being put into boxes and expected to act a certain way, or not being accepted within the society. Isn't that very depressing?
There are natural and harmful gender disparities experienced by adults. These disparities are rooted in childhood, and we have the power to do something about it. There are gender inequalities virtually in every aspect of life, in relationships, at home, at work, at church, in politics, in health, even in sports.
These disparities starts with stereotypes, assumptions that there's one way to be a woman and there's one way to be a man, and men and women might as well as from different planets. Gender inequalities don't magically appear after high school graduation. Gender socialization and gender policing begins much earlier.
The perpetuation of gender stereotypes occurs throughout childhood, and since the development of ultrasound technology, it begins in utero. From birth, children are being dressed in a certain way and being taught the social and cultural norms that is expected of them based on their anatomy. But what those social and cultural norms varies by time and place.
Boys are conditioned to take risks and be athletic and competitive. Girls are conditioned to value appearance over ambition and to put others before themselves. Just marry a rich man, as might they say sometimes. And when it comes to gender non-conforming kids, gender-bending girls are often celebrated and called tomboys, while gender-bending boys are often shamed and called biot or gay.
We have ways and options, but why should we support gender equality? Of course, it's fair, it's right, and it's just. Gender equality is a way for us to get the lives we want to live. Gender equality is good for countries. According to most studies, it turns out that those countries that are the most gender equal are also the countries that score highest on the happiness scale. It is also suitable for companies. Research by Catalyst and others has shown conclusively that the more gender equal companies are,
It is better for workers the happier their labor force is. They have lower job turnover, they have lower levels of attrition, they have an easier time recruiting. They have higher rates of retention, higher job satisfaction, higher rates of productivity. It is suitable for business. And the other thing is, it's not only suitable for women, but also suitable for men. It is suitable for the kind of lives we want to live, because young men significantly have changed enormously, and they want to have lives that are animated by terrific relationships with their children. As the goal-oriented women and men increases, and with gender equality being implemented to exactly everyone, they expect their partners, their wives, to work outside the home.
it is only when both men and women stand up for each other should we genuinely achieve gender equality and rise to the challenge and to address the problem. Just like you don't need to be a woman to fight for women, and you don't need to be a man to fight for men. True gender equality is equality for all.